5.1, we're going to be solving systems of linear equations by graphing. So a system of linear equations just means that there's more than one equation. So it's a set of two or more linear equations in the same variables. So we're going to have two equations and two variables. So I'm going to have to find what x is and find what y is. So for a solution, we tend to think of a single number, but a solution is actually an ordered pair. So we'll have an x and a y as our answer, and this is how we would write it, as x comma y, just like an ordered pair. So in example 1, we're going to tell whether the ordered pairs is a solution to the system of linear equations. So for A, which number is my x and which one's my y? So which is x? 2, and that means 5 is going to be y. So I need to plug both 2 and 5 into the x and y in both equations and see if it makes sense. So I'm going to start with the first equation. So you have 2 plus 5 is equal to 7. What's 2 plus 5?
7.
So 7 equals 7. So it works in the first one. So we're good there. And then let's plug it into the second one and see if that makes sense too. So I have 2 times 2 minus 3 times 5 is equal to 11. 2 times 2 is 4 minus what is 3 times 5? 15. And what is 4 minus 15? So does negative 11 equal negative 11? Yeah. So then the second one is true too. So if it works in both of them, then we can say, yes, it's a solution. So you have to show me that it's a solution by plugging them into both equations. So I have to see your work here. All right, let's look at B. So again, we're doing the same thing. Which number is my x? Negative 2, and what's y? 0. So let's plug those in. So when I plug it into the first one, I have 0 is equal to negative 2 times negative 2 minus 4. So make sure you follow your order of operations, PEMDAS. What's negative 2 times negative 2?
4.
4. And what's 4 minus 4? 0. So 0 equals 0. That's true. So the first equation works. Now let's plug it into the second one and see if that makes sense also. So I have 0 is equal to negative 2 plus 4. What's negative 2 plus 4?
Negative 2. Wait.
Positive 2. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Does 0 equal 2? No, that's not true. So this is not a solution. So it doesn't work in the second one, so it's not a solution. It has to work in both equations in order for it to be a solution to the system. All right, let's look at C. Which number is my x? 1, and what's y? Negative 2. So let's plug them in. I have 2 times 1 plus negative 2 is equal to 0. So 2 times 1 is? 2. So this is like saying 2 minus 2. What's 2 minus 2?
0.
Does 0 equal 0?
Yes.
So it works in the first equation. Now let's try the second. So I have negative x, so negative 1 plus 2 times negative 2 is equal to 5. So what's 2 times negative 2?
Negative 4.
And what is negative 1 minus 4? Does negative 5 equal 5? No. So does it work in the second one? So is it a solution? No. It has to work in both of them. So this is not a solution. So next, we're going to be solving the systems of linear equations by graphing. So the solution of a system of linear equations is the point of intersection of the graphs of the equations. So where our two graphs intersect, That is our solution, and it's always going to be a coordinate point. So step 1 is to graph each equation in the same coordinate plane. Step 2 is estimate the point of intersection, and step 3 is to check the point from step 2 by substituting for x and y in each equation of the original system. So step 3 is just like what we did in the last one. We have to figure out what that point is first. So let's graph our two equations. So what form is this in? Y equals mx plus b, our slope-intercept. So in the first equation, what's my slope? Just 2? Negative 2. So my slope is negative 2. And what's my y-intercept? 5. What would I put first on my graph? 5. So I'm going to put a point at 5. And then how do I show the slope of 2? Down 2 to the right one. So I keep going down 2 to the right one, down 2 to the right one. And then I connect my dots with a line. It's important that you make your line as straight as you can, because where the two lines intersect, that's what's going to be our answer. The second one is also in slope-intercept form. So what's my slope? 4. And what's my y-intercept? Negative 1. What would I put first on my graph? A point at negative 1 on the y-axis. How do I show the slope of 4? Up 4 to the right one. So up 4 to the right one, up 4 to the right one. Put a couple points and then draw your line. Once we draw our two lines, we want to see at what point do these two lines intersect? What point is that? Perfect. 1, 3. Like we go to the right one and up 3, and that's the point where our two lines intersect. So 1, 3. So this is our answer. We just want to double check that we did our work right. So we're going to plug it back in and test and make sure that it's a solution. So I'm going to plug in 1 for x and 3 for y. So I'm going to start by plugging it into the first one. So I have 3 is equal to negative 2 times 1 plus 5. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And what's negative 2 plus 5? 3. So does it work in the first equation? Yep, 3 equals 3. That is true. So it works in the first one. Now let's try the second one. So I'm going to do the same thing, plug in 1 for x and 3 for y. So I have 3 is equal to 4 times 1 minus 1. So 3 is equal to 4 minus 1. And what's 4 minus 1? 3. Does 3 equal 3? Yes. So it works in the second one also. So what's my answer here? 1, 3. This is my solution. All of this is just to check. All right, let's look at B. So we're going to do the same thing, graph one line at a time. So in the first one, what's my slope? 1. And what's my B? Negative 2. So what would I put first on my graph? A point at negative 2. Always put your y-intercept first. And then how do I show the slope of 1? Up 1 to the right one, up 1 to the right one. I draw my line. So there's the first one. Now let's graph our second one. What's my slope for the second line?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. And what's my B? 4. So what would I put first on my graph?
4.
a point at 4 on the y-axis. And then how do I show the slope of negative 1? 1 down to the right one. So down 1 to the right one, down 1 to the right one. Put a couple points and then draw your line. Once we have our two lines, we want to see at what point do the two lines intersect. What point is that? 3, 1. Perfect. We go to the right 3 and up 1. That's where the two lines intersect. Now we want to check our work. So check the answer. What's my x? 3. And that means y is 1. So we're going to plug in our x and y. So I have 1 is equal to 3 minus 2. What's 3 minus 2? 1 equals 1. Is this true? Yes. So the first one works. Now let's check the second one. I have 1 is equal to negative 3 plus 4. What's negative 3 plus 4?
1.
So 1 equals 1. Is this true?
Yes.
Yes. So what's my answer?
Solution.
3, 1. 3, 1 is my answer. So let's look at C. For C, the first equation, what's my slope? 1/2. And what's my y-intercept? 3. So I start by putting a point where? Put a point at 3. And then how do I show the slope of 1/2? Up 1 and to the right 2. So up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2. And then connect the dots. Now let's draw the second line. What would my slope be in the second line? Negative 3 over 2. And what's my y-intercept? All right, so what would I put first on my graph? A point at negative 5. We always put our b first. And then how do I show the slope of negative 3 over 2? Down 3 to the right 2. So down 3 to the right 2. Down 3 to the right 2. Bye, Chloe. So when we draw our line, just make sure your lines are as straight as possible so you can see where they intersect. At what point do our two lines intersect? Awesome. Negative 4, 1. We went to the left, negative 4, and up 1. So what's my x? And 1 would be our y, and then we want to plug it in to see if it works. So I have 1 is equal to 1/2 times negative 4 plus 3. So 1 is equal to, how do I multiply 1/2 times negative 4? And then? Multiply straight across. We multiply the tops together. So 1 times negative 4 would be negative 4. 2 times 1 is 2. And can I simplify negative 4 over 2?
Yes.
What does it simplify to?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. Awesome. And what's negative 2 plus 3?
Negative 1.
Positive 1. Does 1 equal 1?
Yes.
Yep. So the first equation makes sense. It works there. Now let's check the second one. So 1 is equal to negative 3 over 2 times negative 4 minus 5. So here when I multiply, I put a 1 under 4. And then negative 3 times negative 4 is what?
Positive 12.
Positive 12. So 12 over 2 What does 12 over 2 simplify to?
6.
And what's 6 minus 5?
1.
Does 1 equal 1?
Yes.
Yes. So is negative 4, 1 a solution?
Yes.
Yes. So that is our answer. So all of this work below it is just checking the answer. All right, let's look at D. What's different about D?
It has 1.
Is it in slope-intercept form?
No.
No. Can we make it in slope-intercept form?
Yes.
Yeah, how?
Flipping up. I mean, not, subtract.
So remember, slope-intercept form, we want y equals mx plus b.
Subtract 2. Thank you.
You're welcome. So subtract 2x to move it to the other side. So now I have y is equal to negative 2x plus 5. So let's graph this line first. What's my slope?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. And what's my b?
5.
5. So what would I put first on my graph?
5.
My y-intercept at 5. And then how do I show the slope of negative 2?
Down 2 to the right.
Awesome. Down 2 to the right 1. We always go to the right. So if it's negative, you just go down to the right. If it was positive, you go up and to the right. But we always go to the right. So down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. Just put a few dots and then make your line as straight as possible. All right, for the next one, how do I put it in slope-intercept form?
So subtracting 3.
Subtract the 3x first. So now we have negative 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 4. Now it's still not y equals. How can I make it y equals?
Dividing.
Awesome. Since negative 2 is being multiplied to y, I want to divide everything by negative 2 to get rid of it, to move it to the other side. So I have y is equal to, because it'll cancel out now,
Negative 3 over 2.
what's a negative divided by a negative?
Positive.
A positive. So this becomes positive 3 over 2x. And then what is 4 divided by negative 2?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. Perfect. So now it's in slope-intercept form. So what's my slope?
3 over 2.
3 over 2. And what's my y-intercept?
Negative 2.
So what do I put first on my graph?
Negative 2.
A point at negative 2. And then how do I show the slope of 3 over 2?
Going up 3 to the right.
Awesome. Up 3 to the right 2, up 3 to the right 2. And then we connect our dots. So what would our answer be?
2, 1.
2 comma 1. And then what do we have to do next?
Plug in.
Plug it in to check the answer. So what's my x?
2.
2. And y is 1. So let's plug it in. I'm going to plug it into the original equation up here. So I have 2 times 2 plus 1 is equal to 5. 2 times 2 is?
4.
And 4 plus 1? Does 5 equal 5?
Yes.
Yes. So it works for the first one. Now let's check the second. So I have 3 times 2 minus 2 times 1 equals 4. 3 times 2 is? 6. And 2 times 1? 2. So 6 minus 2?
4.
Does 4 equal 4?
Yes.
So is my answer true?
Yes.
Yes. So my answer is 2 comma 1. Why do you have to check your answer in both equations? Why do you think? Just in case you graph one, if you graph wrong. And then also, like we tried on the last page, it could work with one equation, but not the other. So that's why we always have to check both equations, because it could work in one, but not the other. And then should we trust that just looking at the graph will be the answer? No, check your work. Check your work. So let's look at B. It says you have a total of 18 math and science exercises for homework. You have 6 more math exercises than science exercises. How many exercises do you have in each subject? So I want to make an equation. So we have a total of 18 math and science exercises. So if I added, I'm going to call math exercises M and science exercises S. What do you think M plus S is going to be? 18. M plus S is equal to 18. Now we have 6 more math exercises than science exercises. How could I write that in terms of M and S? So let's just say I had 1 science exercise, right? Just to practice. Just thinking. If I had 1 science exercise, if I have 6 more math than science, how many math ones am I going to have? 7. However, 6 more than 1. So I would just take my science and add what to it to equal the math?
6.
Add 6. So the science plus 6 is equal to the math. Now 7 and 1 don't work because we know it has to equal 18, but that's just an example. So it's how we add 6. So it's 6 more to the science is math. So now to find the solution, to find how many exercises we have in each subject, we can graph these. Now instead of M and S, I can change it to be X and Y. So I'm just going to change the M to be X and the S to be Y. So I'm going to make my M, X, and S, Y. It doesn't matter which one you make which, because at the end, we just have to make a note that we made M, X, and S, Y. So my first equation is X plus Y is equal to 18. Now how can I put this in slope-intercept form to graph it? Subtract X on both sides. So Y is equal to 18 minus X. Or let's say negative X plus 18. Because we need it to be Y equals MX plus C. X has to come first. So here, what's my slope? -1. And what's my y-intercept? 18. So let's graph that. Now 18 is off of our graph. I'm going to relabel my graph just to go by 2. So I'm going to change this to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So I relabeled it. I'm going to relabel the x-axis too. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Just so our graph fits. Now what do I put first to graph? The 18. I'm going to put my y-intercept first. So I put a point at 18. Now how do I show the slope of -1? I go down 1 to the right 1. Careful, because we go by 2. So if I go down 1 to the right 1, it'd just be in the middle. So it would look like that. Then we can connect our dots. Something like that. There's my first equation. Let's do the same thing with the second. So I have y plus 6 is equal to x. How can I put this in slope-intercept form? Awesome. We need it to be y equals mx plus b, so I got to move that 6 to the other side. So now I have y equals x minus 6. What's my slope? 1. And what's my y-intercept? Negative 6. So let's go to our graph. What point would I put first? What do I put? Negative 6. And then how do I show the slope of 1? Up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1. Once I have a few dots, I can connect my line. Where do these two lines intersect? Perfect. 6, 12. Now 6 is our x, and 12 is y. But what did I label as my x? Math or science? Math. So how many math exercises do I have? So 6 math. And how many science? 12 science. So that would be my answer. Thank you. B is negative 6. So it should be down here. Better. So where do our two lines intersect? What coordinate point would this be now? What's my x? 12. So 12, 6 is where they intersect. So 12 is my x, but what does x stand for? Math. So 12 math and 6 science. Yeah, so we should have just put our graph at negative 6 as my b. I put my b in the wrong spot. Good catch.